Well, when you start examining other temples around the world, you realize that these other temples have a lot in common. That is, they're all very, very difficult to explain with vine ropes, copper tools, no pulley, and so on. One Egyptologist, the director of the Giza Plateau, said, "There is not one grain of evidence of any advanced civilization ever having been in Egypt prior to the Egyptians." And I thought that was one of the most accurate statements I ever heard from an archaeologist. Because if you're looking for grains of evidence of sand, you will miss it. If you got your head in the sand, you will miss it. But if you look up from the sand and stop looking for grains of evidence, you will see millions of tons of rocks right in front of your eyes, giving you some pretty damn good evidence. The Grand Pyramid at Giza is made of 2,300,000 stones. 2,300,000 stones. It stands at 481 feet of altitude. Its base is 13 square acres. That is extremely large. When you take survey picture, satellite picture of the apex of the Grand Pyramid at Giza, it is 1/4 of an inch off the center of the base. That's 13 square acres. 13 acres square. 1/4 of an inch off center. That's after placing 2,300,000 stones that you have cut with copper tools. Yeah, you need some pretty good moonshine to do that one. But I guarantee you, that is extremely difficult to reproduce. In fact, there is no way engineering companies on this planet could ever reproduce that. Even with all of our modern technology, if we give them billions and billions of dollars, they couldn't come up with anything like that. Because if you divide 1/4 of an inch error by 2,300,000 stones, the accuracy at which you're placing these stones is outrageous. And we can't do anything like that. Our most accurate buildings, like telescopes, are not that accurate. They're not even close to having that kind of accuracy. Go ahead.
So you could say we've just barely come out of the Dark Ages.
Basically, or we got into the Dark Ages. Because it seems that there was people that were doing a heck of a lot better than us. So when I was looking at this, I'm like, wait a minute. That doesn't happen that way. Why is it that we think, that this is taught as facts to children in schools every day? That the pyramids were built by people pulling on vine ropes? And you know why? Because in the 1800s, a bunch of English archaeologists showed up in Egypt, and that's the only thing they could come up with. And because they had PhDs and they were very respected archaeologists, since then, everybody is repeating the same thing. And somehow, a theory that's completely unproven became a fact. In fact, you will not get a PhD in archaeology if you say anything else about the pyramids. I guarantee you that. You cannot get a PhD in archaeology by saying the pyramids were built by Little Green Man. This is one of the problems with education. a whole bunch of people repeating what they've all been taught doesn't advance the field very rapidly. Because everybody is repeating the same thing, you're not going anywhere. So, but these archaeologists never actually, I know they're not mathematicians, but this is simple mathematics, okay? You take the number of stone, they tell you that the pyramids had to be built in 20 years, okay? So that the dynastic Egypt worked. And then you calculate how fast they had to put the stones in. At 7 days a week, 10 hours a day, 365 days a year, for 20 years, they had to place the stone every 2 minutes to finish the pyramid on time. With that level of accuracy. Never mind. But then the archaeologists say, no, those were farmers. They could only build the pyramids during the time of the flood of the Nile when they couldn't work in the fields. 3 months out of the year. See, when they had that 3 months vacation, hey, let's all go and build a huge pyramid. So they went out there and built pyramids 3 months out of the year. You redo your calculation. Now they have to place a rock every 2 seconds to make it in 20 years. So that really doesn't work. Because it's not like you can take these huge rocks and average 2 tons, some of them up to 40 tons rock. Like in the King's Chamber, there's 100 slab of 40 ton pink granite rock. Okay? These things at 135 feet of elevation in the pyramid. It's not like you go, hey Joe, catch this one. Hey Joe, catch this one. And the other guy on the other end is like putting them in. You can't do that. And it doesn't matter if you got 100,000 people. You still can't do it. And they tell you they did that by rolling the rocks on logs. Well, they might have not noticed, but these pyramids are in the middle of a desert. You need a lot of logs to move 2,300,000 stone. Where did the wood come from? When you ask them that, they say, oh, they imported it from Europe. I see. Was this like some catalog, 1-800 ordering? Because as far as I know, the Egyptian didn't easily navigated into Europe, cut millions of logs they would have needed, and brought them back. There's no evidence of that. So, but even more fundamental, I'll ask you, even more fundamental. The fundamental axioms of archaeology is that you observe and decode the remains of a civilization to understand its morses and its activities and all this, right? Okay. There is over 1 million hieroglyph walls in Egypt. Thousands and thousands of hieroglyph walls in Egypt. In the temples, in the tombs, everywhere. They tell us how they made love. They tell us how they eat. They tell us how they went to the washroom. They tell us everything about their life. Everything. Not one of those walls mentioned building the pyramids. What? They forgot? You're talking about something that would have taken a huge effort. You'd think they would have put at least a little wall somewhere saying, oh, by the way, we built the pyramids.